Tonight, I have prepared a selection of enchanting stories for you, each revealing unsuspected mysteries. Take your seat and let yourself be captivated by these captivating tales, delving into the darkness that surrounds each narrative. There was a house, once magnificent, perched on an isolated hill. It was in this dwelling that a once prosperous family, the Millers, lived. But one day, something sinister began to occur. Rumors started spreading in the neighboring village, rumors of strange noises in the night, of lights flickering out, and muffled cries escaping from the walls of the Millers' house. The villagers grew increasingly wary of the family, whispering that the house was cursed, that something malevolent had taken up residence within its walls. But no one dared venture near the house, fearing what might await them. One evening, as the moon was veiled by dark clouds, a group of fearless teenagers decided to defy fate and enter the Millers' house. Armed with flashlights and courage, they climbed the hill, ignoring the warnings of the elders. As soon as they crossed the threshold of the house, an oppressive atmosphere enveloped them. Floorboards creaked beneath their feet, walls seemed to breathe with a life of their own, and a putrid odor permeated the air. They ventured into the dark corridors, their flashlights sweeping shadows that seemed to stretch and dance around them. They discovered rooms filled with strange objects and mysterious symbols, witnesses to a dark and troubling past. As they ventured deeper into the house, a sinister presence seemed to follow them, watching them with a malevolent curiosity. Indistinct whispers echoed in their ears, murmuring warnings and curses. Suddenly, one of the teenagers vanished into a whirlwind of shadows, his horrified cry lost in the void. The others rushed to find him, but it was too late. The house had claimed its victim, swallowing him into its dark depths. Panicked, the survivors tried to escape, but the doors refused to open. The windows were sealed like tombs. They found themselves trapped in a living nightmare, hunted by the malevolent entity that inhabited the cursed house. Eventually, come morning, only 2 of the teenagers managed to escape, traumatized and broken by their experience. The Millers' house remained silent, awaiting its next victim with an insatiable hunger. Since that fateful night, no one has dared venture into the Millers' house, as the legend continues to live on, whispered in the dark streets of the village. And although years have passed, the horror of that night remains etched in the memories of those who dare to remember. To begin this story, let me tell you that I am a mysterious being with dark origins. I am a young woman of 18 years, born and raised in Michigan, surrounded by wild nature since my earliest childhood. It was a scorching summer when my friends and I, accompanied by my boyfriend Tony and my elder brother Brad, decided to go camping for the weekend. Tony's parents owned a secluded cabin in the woods, surrounded by a private lake and located several miles from the nearest neighbor. But as foolish teenagers, we did not realize the true nature of this place. We were all excited to party like any young people of our age, and after only 2 hours on site, our fun evening had begun. Tony's friends had brought reserves of alcohol and illicit drugs so that we wouldn't get bored during our stay, as we had no network or means of communication with the outside world. The night had fallen, dark and black as ink, and a large campfire was our only source of light. There were 6 of us in total, I, Tony, my brother, and 3 other friends. We laughed and chatted joyfully, unaware that my brother was fixated on a specific point in the woods, but we were all too drunk and high to notice. Finally, Tony was the first to notice. My brother and his friend had a frozen expression, devoid of any emotion. He asked my brother if he was okay, but Brad did not respond, frozen like a statue. That's when my friends and I felt a strange and terrifying presence. It took a lot to scare my brother, so we knew something was wrong. Finally, I followed my brother's gaze and saw what terrified him so much. A dog, or at least that's what I thought. But my brain went on alert when I realized there were no neighbors for miles around, making it unlikely for a dog to be in this isolated area. That's when I understood the true nature of this thing. Was it a skinwalker, an evil being hiding under an animal appearance? Fear overcame me, and my survival instincts kicked in. But before I could act, this creature emitted a nauseating smell of rotten flesh, enough to scare everyone. My brother, the first to get up from his chair screaming insults in a native language, begged me to go inside. Without asking questions, my friends and I followed my brother into the cabin, terrified by the creature chasing us. My brother locked the door and turned off the lights, then grabbed sacred ash from the kitchen and threw it on all the doors and windows, reciting protective incantations. We were all in tears, frightened by this supernatural experience. After several hours of terror, we finally fell asleep, shaken by this encounter with the supernatural. In the morning, my brother quickly gathered our belongings, preparing our 2 cars for a hasty departure. There was no need to explain to our friends the nature of the horror we had experienced that night. We simply left the cabin, leaving behind this traumatic experience and the secrets we still keep today. I have never shared this story with many people, but I felt it was time to tell it. Sometimes, supernatural forces are more real than we imagine, and it's better not to disturb them. The strange creatures lurking in the woods can be much more dangerous than we think, so be careful when venturing too far into the wild. There was an ancient forest, forgotten by all, hidden far from modern civilization. The trees were so old that they seemed to hold the secrets of the world for centuries. But at the heart of this dark and dense forest stood a forgotten clearing, a place where the trees parted to reveal a long-abandoned sanctuary. In this clearing, there was a house, once a majestic mansion, now dilapidated by time and overrun by vegetation. It was here that a family, the Hartleys, once lived, but they mysteriously disappeared years ago, leaving behind only rumors of curse and damnation. Villagers avoided the forest like the plague, fearing the terrifying stories swirling around the forgotten clearing. It was said that shifting shadows haunted the woods at night, indistinct murmurs whispering ancient curses. One day, a group of daring adventurers decided to defy superstitions and venture into the forbidden forest. Armed with courage and determination, they made their way through the twisted trees, ignoring the warning cries that echoed in the air. They finally reached the clearing, their hearts pounding as they gazed upon the abandoned house. Its walls were covered in moss and ivy, its windows were shattered, and its doors creaked in the wind. Determined to unravel the mystery surrounding the Hartley house, the adventurers crossed the threshold, their flashlights sweeping through the oppressive darkness that surrounded them. But as they ventured deeper into the dark corridors, a sinister presence seemed to follow them, watching them with a malignant curiosity. Indistinct murmurs echoed in their ears, whispering warnings and curses. The walls seemed to tremble with a life of their own, shadows danced in the dark corners, and a stench of decay hung in the air. Suddenly, one of the adventurers disappeared into a whirlwind of shadows, his scream of horror lost in the void. The others rushed to find him, but it was too late. The house had claimed its victim, engulfing him in its dark bowels. Panicked, the survivors tried to escape, but the doors refused to open. The windows were sealed like tombs. They found themselves trapped in a living nightmare, hunted by the dark forces that haunted the cursed house. Finally, at dawn, only 2 of the adventurers managed to escape, traumatized and broken by their experience. The Hartley house remained silent, waiting for its next victim with an insatiable hunger. Since that night, no one has dared to venture into the forgotten clearing, as the legend continues to live on, whispered in the dark streets of the village. And although years have passed, the horror of that night remains etched in the memory of those who dare to remember it.